And I officially call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Troup City Council to order at 6:35 p.m., noting everyone is present with the exception of Chip Richardson. At this time, I'd like a volunteer for an invocation. And if you would lead us in the pledge afterward.
All right. Father, we thank you for letting us be here and letting us serve. Father, we pray that we'll just have your wisdom and be the leaders you want us to be, not only here, but always as we go about our business, Father. And thank you for this responsibility you gave us. And we just trust you for this and everything else that you have for us, Father, to guide us and lead us. And we just thank you and praise you in Christ's name.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda item number 4 would be citizen comments. We would entertain any brief comments concerning non-agenda items, and obviously any comments regarding agenda items should be held until that time. And since there are no citizens here, we'll move on to agenda item number 5. Discuss and consider nominating for reappointment to the Smith County 911 Communications District Board of Managers for a 2-year term. Ron Schaefer as representative for the cities of Smith County, and authorizing the mayor to cast Troup's vote for Mr. Schaefer. Caveat on that would be, tonight you would be nominating him, and of course he would have to be finally approved by his own board. Is that correct?
No. All the cities, the nominations coming in, and then the ballot will be submitted to the cities if there's anybody else running.
Right.
So at that point in time, someone needs to vote.
So,
But to expedite, I mean, the cities will have to vote, but to expedite things, what I would encourage you to do is go ahead and nominate Mr. Schaefer and then authorize Joe to vote for him when the ballot comes in.
yes. So that more or less is what that last sentence says on the agenda item.
I'll make a motion that we approve Ron Schaefer,
Nominate.
nominate Ron Schaefer as a representative for the cities of Smith County, and we will authorize Mayor Carlisle to cast the vote for Troup for him.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right. We will move down to agenda item number 6, which is to review a preliminary plat survey to create a one-lot subdivision to combine 7.288 acres of unplatted property of the Eason G survey A10 by Kevin McElroy with McElroy Plastics. And I would remind you that this is a first reading, and should we get a nomination to approve this preliminary plat, it would be a preliminary and there'd still be a second reading at another meeting.
And basically what this is, if you look at this right here, you can see right now there's 2 lots. There's the lot next to Colley Street, and then there's the lot north of that. And Mr. McElroy has acquired this lot on Colley Street, and he already owns this lot to the north. He just wants to replat all of that as a single lot.
It's totally undeveloped right now, or is this
No.
part?
There's nothing. In fact, it was wood.
It's not.
Okay. So we do have the preliminary plat here, and I'd entertain a motion to approve the preliminary plat.
I move that we approve the preliminary plat for Kevin.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion passes. We have a number of ordinances that we are going to address. This first ordinance is a little bit of a housekeeping ordinance. I'm going to read it exactly as it is. This is relating to basically the current budget year of 2014-2015, and Gene will go over it in some detail. Agenda item number 7, discuss and consider approving ordinance number 2015-0922-03, an ordinance amending ordinance number 2014-0917-01, making appropriations for the support of the city of Troup for the fiscal year beginning October 2014 and ending September 30th, 2015. Appropriating money to a sinking fund to pay interest and principal due on the city's indebtedness. Appropriating money to the general operating fund and adopting the annual budget for the city of Troup for the year 2014-15 fiscal year. And again, I would remind you that this is some housekeeping that needed to be done, and Gene has a list of basically some entries that needed to be corrected before we close out last year's budget, or this current budget.
Yeah, we come down to the end of the year, there's stuff that happens during the year that you don't anticipate. Or there's some departments that run over for one reason or another, and some of them don't spend as much as you. So what we do is we come in at the end of the year and we make budget adjustments. And if you're in a council manager city, as long as it's in the same fund, generally they let the city manager do that. But this is not a council manager form of government. This is the mayor is the budget officer in the general city like Troup. So basically these budget amendments need to come back to the council for approval. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. And they're there in detail, and let me just kind of explain to you what they are. You remember we did the downtown drainage project on Goodlaw Street. Well, and that was not the budget. So we took in $43,000 from the TCDC, and then we paid that out. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase. We've entered a budget item for reimbursement for the TCDC, and we're going to add $43,250, $53.90 to that item, and we're also going to add to the budget. This money's already sitting in the expense account. So what we have to do is make the budget amount match to the expense account item. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. And each one of these is that kind of correction.
So what we're doing, we're increasing the budget by $43,253.90 in that expense account to make that show that we did not go over budget in that item. Because we're changing the budget to match what we actually spent, which was an extra income. We didn't anticipate it the first year we were going to do that, but we obtained the money to do that with. The next item is another one, like in the code enforcement officer, we budgeted, the original budget was $9,500. We've only spent $7,100. We've only spent about a little over $7,100. So what we're doing is we're reducing that budget item by $2,400 and increasing the audit expense by $2,400. That's kind of in the same category, so that fixes a shortage there. And then the next item, we've had more in sales tax income this year than we anticipated. So we're adjusting the budget to reflect that. And when we had more in sales tax money than we anticipated, that also meant we paid more than we anticipated to the TCDC, because their payment is a third of this number right here. Okay, so we have to increase that. We have to increase that amount by $11,000. And then I just spent $1,680 repairing the emergency warning system. So I'm increasing the budget income by $33,000 and increasing expenses by $12,680, which, as long as you're increasing the income more than the expenses, you're all right. Okay. Our income from other agencies was much more than we anticipated, and we remember the $500 we took in from Republic Services and gave to the school. Well, that's what that adjustment's for, us to take care of that. We collected about $11,000. We're going to collect about $11,000 more in taxes this year than what we anticipated. So by taking that $11,000, the tax attorney, part of that $11,000 we collected was money that we paid, that he collected for us. and we pay him a commission on that. So we have to increase his, the amount we had budgeted for him by $3,500 to get it up to $8,000, because we spent about $7,900 in that account. This appraisal district, we were a little short of the budget for that. They billed us more than what we anticipated. We spent more on ads and notices this year because we've done some things. You know, we acquired that piece of property down there that was unclaimed property, so that took a lot of money to run those ads and legal notices and things to comply with that. We spent $350 more in travel and training than what we thought, and $800 more in dues. So we're increasing our income by $11,000 and increasing our expenses by $5,677 in those items. In the police department, they spent $600 more on their laptop cards than they anticipated because they basically had more laptop cards than what they thought they had. Telephone and pager were increasing in the police department by $1,150. And the school resource officer, they had to train a new school resource officer. So that money was more than we anticipated in the budget. So that's $2,800 in increased expenses. And how we're going to make that up is they didn't collect as much in fine money as we thought they would. So we don't have as much money to pay the state. So therefore, we're taking that $2,800 out of the fine submitted to the state. We bought a new server for the police department because the current police server will not run the latest versions of the police record-keeping software. And we bought the new server, and they installed the software on that computer today, and they spent about $1,000 more on equipping the police vehicle than we anticipated. And so that's a total increase in expenses of $6,100. And our fuel prices are less than we anticipated, so we're taking $6,100 out of fuel to cover these $6,100. We're reducing the fuel budget by $6,100 to cover these $6,100 additional expenses. Okay.
And that is all, that was 9 separate categories, is that correct?
Yes. And then over on the next page, and I don't have that one loaded here, if you look on the next page of your sheets you have, I didn't get that one loaded up to the computer. In the police department's professional services, we're increasing that amount by $1,775, and we're reducing their travel and training expenses by the same amount, because we didn't spend as much in travel and training as we. So you have to look at this sheet, that sheet.
It's on the back of that original page.
Just get on my.
Yeah, no, we got
It's laying there.
This is the wrong ordinance. It's not even the right number. No, that's what you put on it.
It's right there.
Okey-doke.
All right, and then, and remember we spent money in the water and sewer fund. We're about $100,000 short in revenue in the water and sewer fund this year, okay? But we spent $20,442.85 taking down the water tower. We spent $7,250 more than we had budgeted in upkeep of the well. That was because of the TCEQ requirements, over the $37,000 we spent for that. And we needed to install some valves on 2 fire hydrants. And so we used professional services are increased by $6,250 to cover that. So that's $33,942.89. To cover those expenses, since we didn't have enough income to cover those expenses, we're moving that money from reserves to balance that out. Any questions on it?
No.
Is it safe to say that we have not gone through this process, or at least we didn't discuss it as openly in years?
We did it last year.
Right, well, I know,
Yeah.
maybe previous years, we did it a different way.
Or
We did some. I remember doing some.
Okay.
I don't think in the 3 previous years to be being here that you probably
No, it's been back.
did, yeah. I think Russ probably made adjustments, but I don't think after that there were any.
No, but Russ did tell me.
Of course, what this does, it just cleans our book up for the audit. So when the auditor comes in, what we've got on our books, and it also gives you a truer picture of what you've actually.
Where it actually lands.
That's right.
Or where it was originated. So again, we're here on this agenda item number 7. Again, not to dumb this down, but it's some housekeeping that needed to be done with regard to the audit. There were 9 different items. A number of them were, we actually had net positive effect. The only one that actually came out of the general reserve, or came out of reserves, was that last one. But if you go back and look at the 9 above there, it really didn't affect the reserves that much because we were positive in some of
Of
those.
course, those are all general fund items.
So for this ordinance, I would mention to you on this ordinance and the other ones that we're going to look at that I'd like the motions to be made that would include the full reading of the ordinance.
Go to the heading.
I make a motion that we approve the ordinance number 2015-0922-03 and the ordinance amendment ordinance number 2014-0917-01, making appropriations for the support of the city of Troup for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2014 and ending September 30, 2015. Appropriating money to a sinking fund to pay interest and principal due on the city indebtedness, appropriating money to the general operating fund, and adopting the annual budget of the city of Troup for the year 2014 through 2015 fiscal year.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll say.
A motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign, and that motion would pass. We now convene in the public hearing to discuss the 2015-16 fiscal year budget, noting that it is 6:52 p.m.
And the printed copy of the budget's laying there in front of you. There's nothing new on this budget that we hadn't talked about already. It's the same piece of paper that we've dealt with ever since the last meeting. It's just been bound up for you. And
We are not making any decisions in the format of the public hearing. This is just for discussion purposes for public.
and
We will address it when we come out of the public hearing.
and let me kind of show you some charts so if somebody says something to you about something in the budget. Here's the total city property tax paid by average home in each city in 2014. And you can tell where Troup rates in Smith County in that regard. We're the 3rd highest in Smith County. There's Bullard, White House, Troup, Lindale, Overton, Arp, Howard, and Winona. Of course, Arp and Winona are going to beat us out because they don't offer the same level of city services that we do. Okay? Here's what causes our tax rate to be high. This is the Smith County average home values in 2014. Winona has the least expensive home values in Smith County, and we're right behind them at number 2. Of course, your home values have a direct impact on your tax rate. And if you count school tax in for a citizen in the city of Troup with our city tax, this is how Troup rates in Smith County. Okay, so we're actually, with those 2 taxes, the citizens in Troup are the 3rd lowest tax. The city's not responsible for that because the school district's low tax rate helps that out. Now let me show you something else. This little chart shows you that if our home values were the same as Bullard's, this is what our tax rates would be. if our home values were the same as Bullard's, you know, Troup's tax rate is .91, whatever it is, it's gonna be this next year. Our tax rate would be 36 cents. Okay. If our home values were the same as White House, our tax rate would be 46 cents. If our tax rate was the same as Lindale, it'd be 49 cents. I'm talking about if the home values were the same in each one of these cities. If our home values were the same as Tyler, our tax rate would be 38 cents. So you can see how low home values impact our tax rate. And of course, when somebody tells you, well, Troup's the most expensive city to live in East Texas or in Smith County, that's not quite an accurate picture. So, and of course, if any of you want any of these printed out, well, I'll be glad to give them to you.
It would be true if you didn't take into account the school district, and if you lived in an expensive home in Troup, it would be true.
Right, but a home in Troup is naturally going to be valued less. If you took my 4-bedroom house in Troup that's valued at $135,000 for the swimming pool and moved that same house to Bullard or White House,
Right.
it's no longer going to be valued at $135,000. Right?
Yeah. Understood.
Okay. And here's another little interesting thing. Budgets kind of mean something when you compare them to how many citizens you got. This is per capita budget for Troup compared to all the rest of the cities in Smith County. Lindale is $1,506.41 per person is their per capita budget. Tyler's is $1,373.68 a person. Bullard's is $1,319.12 per person. Troup's is $1,310.34, and White House is $1,095.35
Per person.
per person. So you can see that our budget on a per capita basis is not tremendously out of line with anyone
In Smith County.
in Smith County. That's right. You know what the per capita budget for the city of Dallas is? Take a guess.
Over many people.
$2,434. And the thing about White House is White House is about the size where there is some efficiency in government. If you take cities the size of White House to Jacksonville, and in that size, they're just right to be able to spread their cost out at a fairly low basis. But once you grow past that point, you start getting into the same situation that Tyler's in. Even though your tax rates are low, as the population moves up, so are the demands for services. So that of course, you can see the same thing in Lindale. Lindale's had tremendous growth. Okay, and that's reflected in their tax rate. If you look at Troup's debt service rate compared to the rest of the rate, our debt service rate is actually, as a percentage of our total tax rate, is actually fairly low. When you go to these fast-growing cities like Bullard and Lindale, their debt service is more than their maintenance and operations costs. I have that little chart too. But I kind of wanted to show you those items because it kind of here you can see that. You can see where our tax rate is, and the red part is interest and sinking fund, and the blue part is our maintenance and operations. So our debt service is a very relatively small portion of our total tax rate. And here's and this one affects our budget greatly too. And this is what causes our water rates to be high. This is the water rate, our actual revenues versus budget since 2006. And since 2006, ideally the red line should be at or above the green line. Okay, as you can tell, in that entire period, there's been 1 year in which the red line, you actually met budget in your water and sewer department. And this is despite the fact that in the last 4 years, there hasn't been a whole lot of growth in the budget. But you can see the revenue has been consistently declining. Of course, that just has to do with consumption. I don't know if you saw it, but I sent you an article. I emailed everybody an article. Last month, everybody in Troup was upset because their water bills had been at a level down here for a while, and then all of a sudden last month, they shot up. Of course, the first thing everybody tells you is, my water meter's wrong. Well, that's possible, but not probable. And the reason I sent you that article was because in the Dallas area, there was articles in the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, there was articles in the Dallas Morning News, there was articles in all the little regional newspapers up there about all these irate citizens all of a sudden in the month of August, when we had our first dry month basically in 3 years, everybody had started watering again, but they swore they didn't water any more than they had before. So consequently, there was a whole bunch of broken meters as far as
Yeah.
When did Troup invest in the new meters?
about 3 years ago.
That was a good
It was
investment.
probably a 2-year process, I think.
That was a good
We did a
investment.
few, and then we did a few more.
That was a good investment.
And we paid off that. Of course, the nice thing about those meters, when somebody comes in and has a question, we can actually go back to them. John can drive back to the meter, and he can actually pull a daily reading that shows how much water was used each day. As opposed to old manual.
Do they have to be in close proximity?
To get that report. Now, they can be within half a mile to take a reading.
Right.
To normal, but if you want that detailed report. And the meter also generates what's called a leak report. If the water comes on and stays on for over 24 hours, it generates a leak report internally to the meter. Of course, if that water stays on till we read the meter, then it generates a leak report whenever Lauren enters the data. Now, if what happens if you go in and you leave your water sprinkler running for 3 or 4 days and then go cut that off, well, the meter's smart enough to know, hey, they cut the water off, and it wipes out the leak report. Because a leak's not gonna suddenly stop. You know?
Wish it would alarm you when you leave your sprinkler at night.
Well, there are new meter systems now that actually can do that because the data is constantly sent to the city. And it can constantly come to your house and it will alert you if your water usage.
My wife tried to alert me, but.
And then you, oh,
So I just wanted
You
you
have
to.
enough to see.
I did.
And of course, all of this stuff is in your, all of this stuff is in your electronic packet. But if you want me to print it off for you or anything like that, I'll be glad to do that.
And a lot of it was on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no additional
Well,
comments. I will now close the public hearing at 7:03 p.m. And we'll move forward to agenda item number 11 to discuss and consider adopting ordinance number 2015-0922-01, and an ordinance making the beginning of October, excuse me, making appropriations for the support of the city of Troup for the fiscal year beginning October the 1st, 2015, and ending September the 30th, 2016, appropriating money to a sinking fund to pay interest and principal due to the city's indebtedness, appropriating money to the general and operating fund, and adopting the annual budget of the city of Troup for the year 2015-2016 fiscal year. This, in fact, agenda item number 11 will be adopting the new budget for the 2015 and 2016 year.
And what I forgot to tell you too, this needs to be a roll call of each person.
Okay. Okay, and as with the previous ordinance, the maker of the motion should read the entire ordinance.
so this is it. I will make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2015 ordinance making appropriation for the support of the city of Troup for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2015, and ending September 30th, 2016. Appropriating money to a sinking fund to pay interest and principal due of the city's indebtedness, and appropriating money to the general operating fund, and adopting the annual budget of the city of Troup for the 2015-2016 fiscal year.
I second.
Okay, on agenda item number 11, we have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, we'll start with place. Okay. Councilperson in place 1 would be Jeff Hale.
I vote aye.
Nelson Darden Jr.
I vote aye.
Gary Salyer,
I vote aye.
Carol Wilson,
I vote aye.
and Chip Richardson is absent. So, you want that? Okay, so we have now adopted the 2015-2016 new budget by unanimous vote. We move on to agenda item number 12, and this also will be a roll call vote. This is I have to say this. Oh, because that is one. Okay, agenda item number 12. We're going to discuss and consider adopting ordinance number 2015-0922-02, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Troup, Texas, levying ad valorem taxes for the use and support of the municipal government of the City of Troup for the 2015-2016 fiscal year, providing for the adoption of each levy for specific purposes, and providing when taxes shall become due, and when same shall become due, and when same shall become delinquent if not paid. Let me reread it.
You missed one word.
That's the outward word, right?
Okay.
You're close enough.
Okay. Again, item 12 is in fact adopting the new tax rate for 2015-2016. And as a reminder to the council, we've held the required 2 public hearings on September the 8th and September the 15th. Will be 2 public hearings as required by law. Again, this will be a roll call vote, and the maker of the motion would need to read the entire ordinance again.
Yeah, I would read section 1. So that actually specifies the way.
So where's that sheet?
It's in the ordinance. Yes, a copy of the ordinance.
So, gotcha. There we go. All right, I'll make a motion that we adopt ordinance number 2015-0922-02, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Troup, Texas, levy ad valorem taxes for use and support of the municipal government of the City of Troup for the 2015-2016 fiscal year, providing for apportionment use levy for specific purposes, and providing when taxes shall become due and when same shall become delinquent if not paid. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Troup, this tax rate will raise or taxes for maintenance and operations in last year's tax rate. Section 1, that there is hereby levied and there shall be collected for the use and support of the municipal government of the City of Troup and to provide an interest and sinking fund for the 2015-2016 fiscal year upon all property, real, personal, and mixed, within the corporate limits of said city, subject to taxation, a tax of 0.91562 of each $100 valuation of property. Said tax being so levied in proportion to the specific purposes set forth. For the maintenance and support of the general fund, 0.75604 on each $100 valuation of property. And number 2, for the interest and sinking fund, 0.15958 cents on each $100 valuation of property.
I second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second, and as mentioned before, this will be a roll call vote. Councilperson Hale,
I vote aye.
Councilperson Gordon,
I vote aye.
Councilperson Salyer,
Aye.
noting that Chairperson is absent, Councilperson Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, it is unanimous, and we meet the supermajority requirements. So this new tax rate is adopted. Moving on to agenda item number 13. This one's a little tricky. We're going to discuss and consider adopting ordinance number 2015-0922-04. An ordinance of the City of Troup, Texas, repealing water and wastewater rates previously passed by way of ordinance number 2012-0929-01, and attached to said ordinance as Exhibit A and B, providing for a savings and a severability clause, providing for an effective date of this ordinance, and providing for the publication of the ordinance. This basically, and Gene may explain it better, we must repeal the 2012 water rate that was an adopted ordinance. And in this same motion, you will be adopting the 2015 water rate. So again, we would ask that you read this one verbatim, the maker of the motion.
And as the ordinance says, it's not effective till we actually publish the ordinance. So that means it's not going to be published till after the first of the month, and therefore this rates won't go into effect till the meters are read in October.
So it would be the following memory.
Yeah, it's going to be the bills that go out in October.
It'll be a slight increase.
And
It's about,
this is not a roll call vote.
this is not a roll.
5%.
It's the same rate
Right.
it was the same rate that was called for in the rate study in 2007, and it's the same rate we've been talking about all along. It is the first rate increase since
Probably need to
2000.
make this motion.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion on agenda item number 13.
I make a motion that we repeal, that we accept the ordinance of the City of Troup repealing the water and wastewater rate previously passed by way of ordinance number 2012-0929-01, and attach to said ordinance as Exhibit A and B, providing for a savings and severability clause, providing for an effective date of the ordinance, and providing for the publication of this ordinance.
And we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
A motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
Let me say something.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, I've dug through Overton's budget to see how their budget compared to ours. And their budget's a little more than ours, but it's very interesting to the difference in water and sewer revenue. See, our water and sewer revenues are a little over $600,000. We've got about 1,900 people. Overton has about 2,500 people. And their water and sewer revenues are almost $1 million. And their rates are less than ours. But the reason for that is they have a very large commercial customer in the prison. And that prison pays a huge amount of their water and sewer budget. So where we move $135,000 a year from water and sewer into the general fund, they move $220,000 from their water and sewer fund. So there again, you have to know, the raw numbers don't always tell you something. You always have to look and see, why is this number, why? So to me, that was interesting.
We have, just curious, we have enough capacity, how much more?
2 times.
Twice.
Very,
With our wells.
with their ones.
Without drilling
That's right.
additional wells.
Yeah.
Is there any additional discussion on agenda item number 13? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item number 14. We'll discuss and consider entering into a community service agreement with Cherokee County Juvenile Services. And I will let Mr. Cottle explain this one. We've not done this.
Yeah, we have an agreement with Smith County. They've done this kind of thing before. Cherokee County's going to have an official agreement with us. And this is basically folks that they are working off a fine in some way. So Cherokee County wants to be able to send us some folks. So we're just asking you to, this is basically an interlocal agreement.
Which is like community service hours and things like that.
That's right.
Okay. So I would entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the community, accept entering into a community service agreement with Cherokee County Juvenile Services.
We have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any additional discussion? All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that motion passes. Future comments and input from the council, mayor, or city manager concerning the items of interest or items for future agenda. And at this point, we want to discuss the next Tuesday night event. Okay, next Tuesday night, we have been invited to attend officially as council members a function in this room with the TCDC, the Troup City Council, the Troup Chamber of Commerce, and the school board, all to meet here for an informational meeting. And it will, in fact, because we are elected, for us, for TCDC, and for the school, it will be an official meeting, and so the notices will go out, or have gone out.
They will go out.
They will go out. This is for the FG&E plant construction that is being discussed out here on the edge of the Troup School District in Cherokee County. And we need to RSVP.
Yes, they're
Because they're
catering
providing
barbecue.
Yeah. So I don't know what the deadline
I
is.
said, Jeff, you told me you'd be there, Nelson, you said you'd be there, Gary said he would be there, and Carol said that you'd be there. and-
Short of a baby, I'm there.
Do that,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. And Buffalo.
Wow, Joe, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Couldn't tell. Okay, so
Don't put that.
with that being said, as an official open meeting, we will basically convene the meeting and then announce that there will be no business conducted, and then we'll adjourn the meeting. But if we're going to be there, we have to do it that way.
Each one of the entities have to do that.
Just one of the previews, this is one of the projects, I know I'll talk about this next week, but it's over $1 billion, direct and indirect expenditures, this is what they say. $100 million of additional tax revenue for the county, $5 million in annual wages for employees, says it creates 350 jobs during construction, then 20 once operational.
But
That's
but
in Mitchell County.
That's in Cherokee, that's in the first.
No,
slide.
this is just an example of what we're not going to get.
This is a $2.5 billion plan.
So this one's bigger, this is 1.2.
Where would that be located?
It's almost, it's just a northern troops on that Cherokee.
About 7 or 8 miles out Highway 110.
Online, they call it New Summerfield.
Yeah.
I mean, they're designating it New Summerfield.
Right.
But it's in Troup ISD, not in this one.
So it's New Summerfield, you think?
They'll probably have some growth out of it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that probably, that with regard to any future agenda items, that's the only thing that I knew of. Did anybody else have any additional future agenda items? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Wait, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry, what year would this be?
I think
They won't start moving dirt at the end of next year. It's about a 3 or 4 year project.
I didn't know it would be that soon.
End of 16.
Yeah, so about a year from now.
They said it'd be then before
Keep it
you
on.
see any dirt being
Yeah.
moved.
Yeah.
Lots of paperwork and permits.
Environmental stuff.
Permits up for Kazoo.
Well, they almost have all that done, according to the news article.
Well, and then there was a merger thing last week that kind of brought a hiccup, but it'll all work out.
If you saw the stuff the other day about 2 turbine manufacturers getting ready to consolidate, that's having an impact on this project.
Okay.
Of course, the turbines are what's they use. They're gonna fuel an electric plant with natural gas. And the
I know where they can get some.
And the natural, and the turbines that they want to use are being manufactured by a company that's consolidating with another company. So part of their holdup is they can't sign their contracts for their turbines until they're sure who to sign the contract
Yeah,
with.
who they're doing business with.
Something prolonging, why this area?
Because of gas. There's a plentiful supply of natural gas.
I got one question. We had talked a few months ago about possible ordinance for like animals and trash and stuff. You know, we looked at it a little bit, but we never,
No, because you didn't give me a whole lot of direction.
now that the budget's over, maybe we can take that, I think we probably can take that back up.
Yeah. Did was it anybody in this room that was trying to hire somebody to kill their dog on Facebook?
No, that was.
It was in Troup.
It was true, but she was out.
But keep in
She was
mind,
like out in the.
could have been Lake Tyler.
Just thank goodness she wasn't a Facebook friend of mine. I might have not even there anymore, just for thinking it was funny.
Our police, you never take in.
That she wanted somebody to kill her dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we have I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
motion to second, all in favor?
Uh,
All right.
We're adjourned.
some dog.
Thank you, everybody.